You know what? You know what, Mike? F it. We'll do it live. Okay? We'll do it live. Play us out. What does that mean? What does that mean?
You know, I always wonder what happened to the guy in like the background in the scenes. Like, was he fighting Bill O'Reilly? Were they about to go into a tussle? Did he take off his shirt in disgust, like in rage? Like, what happened?
I like to think that he stormed off of the set in just pure rage. Like, you know what? I'm not even a conservative anyway. I don't even know why I work at Fox News.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of liberals working at Fox News just to make a paycheck. Like, I'm gonna be honest, and vice versa.
You know, yeah. I heard that about because media, you know, skews left, especially I think Fox is centered in New York. I've heard that about Fox, that there's actually quite a few Democrats working at Fox.
Yeah.
Wouldn't call them left.
This is the Leg Kick podcast, by the way.
Oh yeah. Where we talk about fights, right?
Yeah.
And not Bill O'Reilly freaking out 26 years ago.
Hilarious. We should create another podcast called...
Have you seen what he looks like lately? He looks awful, by the way. Bill O'Reilly looks awful.
Hey, shouts out to Bill O'Reilly, I guess. Not.
But yeah, the gentleman on this call with me. Let's start with the Nigerian Dream.
Oh my God.
David, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I have still tweaked my neck, and I'm in agony. I recently learned you can't just do pull-ups in any form you want them, because that's not how bodies work. So, yeah.
All right. Moving over, what he calls the self-proclaimed representative of white guilt on this podcast, Stefano, Dog of War, Hosko. How you doing?
Well, right now, I'm not so much feeling like a dog of war, more like a dog o' chunks. This quarantine is hitting us all, my friend.
Yeah.
And below me, we have the Sleeping Beauty, Jeremy Asiffo.
Yeah.
Sleeping.
Oh, by the way, if we get 1,000 subscribers, I will literally set up a promotion to have Jeremy and Stefano fight in the main event. That's a thing. It will happen.
I'm sorry, dude. That no one would ever sanction that. No commission.
Literally.
Like,
you want many reasons.
I am convinced. I am convinced. We get Jeremy down to 210.
Jeremy might have 100 pounds on you, Stefano. Like, legitimately.
And?
That's shit.
I've fought bigger. And Jeremy's sitting there all confident, like,
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I would literally...
I've seen this explosive.
I would literally rip you in half.
Yeah.
All right.
Jeremy, I want you to...
The reason why I sleep so much is because
it's hibernating.
I don't know where that sentence is going. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know where that sentence is going.
I wanted to say something about your mama, but I didn't want to. I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah, you better not. Jeremy, just remember your bold words as I'm cranking on your leg and you're begging for your life. You'll be running there faster than the trainer at SeaWorld who got bit by the orca.
I will sleep into heaven.
All right.
Oh wow! Wow. Yeah,
Jeremy, jokes on you. Jokes on you. There's no such thing as heaven or hell for that.
Oh, okay.
Remember,
so,
we're a Christian
you're as delusional as you sound, my friend. You're talking to a 2-organization champion. Just keep that in mind.
We often forget that part. Like you actually can fight. Like
yeah, like I'm not just some like troll white guy who comes on this show for the purpose of, you know.
But wouldn't it be
melanin
if you were though? Like that
would
make
there's a story actually that like can actually hype up Stefano a little bit, and I hate doing that. You know, I want him to feel bad about his life, but there's a story actually that's actually kind of funny. Back when we knew each other in school. But yeah. Man, also Jeremy came out sounding like Chael's son, and with that verse, "I'll rip you in half." Right? It reminded me a lot of that, like Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck, and everyone's like, yeah, yeah. Right. And then he just messed up with the like, I sleep so much because, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Jeremy.
I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm not like that 40-year-old man that you tossed on your Instagram page. You got the wrong one, son.
No, but you are like that young Trinidadi guy in the prime of his career, undefeated.
I'm not like no. I'm not like.
Are you
I'm
like?
not
Are
like
you
no
like
one.
the?
I'm not like no
Are you like
one. I'm not like no
are you
one.
like the?
I'm not like no one. I'm not like
No,
no one.
that's right. You're not like no
I'm
one
not
because
like
you're
no
not a
one.
fighter,
I got
Jeremy.
two
You're not
weightlifters.
like no one
So this
because
is
you're
the
not
kind
a
of
fighter.
content you gotta
This
cut
is
out.
not good content. We can't talk
No,
over
guys.
it.
Hold on. This guy's talking. Jeremy, you're not like no one because you're not a fighter because you hit pads in the backyard and you haven't trained a day in your life.
Exactly. I'm not like no one, bro, and I'm not like a fighter either. I'm Jeremy Asiffo. Just
Sit down.
just get on with the podcast, bro. We're not doing this. Just get on.
All right.
Jeremy, I love you. I just want you.
All right. You know what's crazy? We never tell people where they can also listen to this podcast. If you're listening to it via podcast form, you can listen to it on. Let me do a promo for
This is some highbrow entertainment.
Yeah. You can listen to us on YouTube. Watch us on YouTube, by the way, where we actually have other videos. I've been making a lot of videos night and day. This is my sweatshop here. I also have a Monaco Real autographed Bulma poster that gets shown on that YouTube channel. But you can also listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, SoundCloud. Oh my Lord, so many.
Everywhere. We're so accommodating. We're so accommodating for you scum out there. Look, and we're putting out good content now. More content. Mike's. We've got. David has his interview pieces that he did recently with Ottawa gym owners, talking to them about how the lockdowns affected them. It's good, informative stuff if you care about that kind of thing. Which, if you're here, you should. And
if you're here, you don't. Come on. And nobody cares. Even I barely care now. I'm joking. I love you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Also, keep your eye on the YouTube channel because we've got some exciting things coming out. You know, Mike's always got interesting takes. We've got a couple of video essays coming out soon, in the works.
And great interview also coming out.
Yeah,
that we do. Should we plug it, or we'll wait till the end of the podcast?
No plug. We can just say
no plug till we're ready. But
no plug other than the one that David's sitting on right now. Okay, so
I am a robot. That is true.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
No, that's not where he was going. But we're a Christian podcast, and we're gonna truck along.
You cannot even make that Christian podcast joke anymore. No more. No matter.
I love using it. It's
hilarious.
We can make it if we have Christian Yabo on.
That's funny. I don't know who that is.
Listen, I don't want Christian Yabo on because it's going to literally turn into 50 minutes of Stefano making fun of Christian and Christian going, "Stop making fun of me." That's what's going to go.
It'll be Christian. It'll be half an hour of Christian saying, "This guy's racist. This guy's racist. I'm telling you." So, guys, can we talk about some fights?
Okay.
People in the Lake came here for fights, and we had a great.
Can I get through some news though, please? All right.
Well,
so first thing, Kanye West had a campaign trail. This is effectively turned into the Kanye West show, so too bad. And he had a campaign trail in which he hit people with some classics, including Harriet Tubman did not free the slaves. She just made the slaves work for other white people. That's what he said. I kid you not. He also said that he wanted to abort Northwest when he was thinking about it, but ended up not doing it. So now he's pro-life. That was a thing. That did happen. And he also had a gem of, hey, don't talk while I'm talking because my stuff is important. That's what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. That was the thing. So yeah. Anyone have any thoughts before I move on?
I just want to quickly shed some light on the fact that this entire thing is a bit of a sham, whether Kanye realizes it or not. And the reason is he missed most of the important states, dates to register as a candidate in the United States. So a lot of states he wouldn't even be able to effectively run for president So if he is legitimately crazy enough to hedge his bets and do a presidential campaign, like, it's little too late. And at the same time, like, why are we even giving attention to this?
Yeah, I don't care what kind
I
of
don't.
Man, I just find it hilarious.
The man is clearly mentally ill.
I find it hilarious, okay? But you know the problem with this? This is what happens when rich people only surround themselves with yes people. This is what happens. They think they can just say a whole lot of stuff without learning and adjusting their points. Anyway, moving on. So in the NBA bubble, where they've recently have put up a 2K-style barbershop, that is a thing, they had another round of testing in which no NBA player tested positive for COVID. So hooray.
Oh my God, it's almost like we predicted it weeks ago in terms of there would be an influx of cases and then eventually there would be nobody with any cases. It's almost like it happened in every other sport, including MMA. Actually, MMA is different. MMA is different.
That's good news, though. If you like basketball, it's good news. And leave it to the United States to have their entire country collapsing around them. But when money's on the line, you better believe they get their stuff together quickly. When sports or money are on the line.
Man, you'd be surprised, man. Anyway.
And also, there's a baseball game going on right now. I just want to put that.
Yep. There's currently, as this is a Monday night version of this podcast. So yeah. So gentlemen, Deiveson Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez.
Oh, you missed one important piece of news, Mike.
Oh, what's going on?
Bellator is coming back.
Yeah. Okay, so Ricky Bandejas versus Sergio Pettis is going to take place. Now, Bandejas, after, sidekicking Jack Gallagher into oblivion, went on a bit of a skid. He lost to Archuleta the other day. Not the other day, but the other month.
Oh, did we lose him?
Oh, sorry. Was I
You glitched out for a second.
Okay,
he lost to Juan Archuleta the other month.
Yeah, so Ricky Bandejas, got off the schneid a little bit, won a couple. Actually won one, and now he's going to be taking on Sergio Pettis, who, was a UFC prospect. So, yeah, it's going to be a good matchup. And I believe Machida and Davis are actually going to be fighting very, very soon. I don't know if it's the same card, but I believe they're going to be taking place on a card.
It's not. Yeah. It's not the same card, but there is another interesting fight on there that I believe you missed. It's Kimbo Slice's son.
Oh yeah, Baby Slice.
Wait. Oh no, hold on. I might be getting this wrong. Let me just pull this up because I want certainty. So there's Pettis Bandejas.
Jordan Maine versus.
Jordan Maine versus.
I don't know who that is.
Jackson. Is it Josh Jackson?
I don't know who that is.
Guys. Jackson can fight. Yeah, Jackson can fight. Don't sleep on Jackson. Yeah.
Oh, Aaron Pico's fighting. I'm not from Hatley Jr., who I'm not familiar with, but I'm really excited for that main event for a couple of reasons. I think that Bellator's bantamweight division is not as deep as the UFC's, but there's some interesting talents in there, and I'm kind of curious to find out exactly how good it is with the litmus test of Sergio Pettis.
Know what? And low key, you know what? I have to say this: as much as Gallagher got kicked into the shadow realm, he has come back in a furious way.
He's a good fighter.
He's a good fighter, and I know a lot of people. I know his stock really dropped with that side kick to the face, but this is a division that is he's I'd say one win away from a title shot. You got Bandejas, who's always exciting. Archuleta can wrestle his ass off. You got
Henry Corrales as well.
Yeah, Corrales can fight. So you got some guys in there who can throw down. As much as
Pitbull? No,
sorry?
Right? Pitbull?
Oh yeah,
Pitbull's 145.
Pitbull, yeah.
Oh, are you talking about the division? I thought you were talking about Bellator in general.
No, yeah, Bellator also has a strong. To your point, though, Bellator does have a strong 145-pound division as well.
Yeah.
And 155-pound division.
Which Pitbull is taking over with a quickness. So, Yeah, look, like I said, like they got some guys. They got some guys who can throw down. And as much as I rag on Bellator, it's not because they don't have talent. It's because in spite of their talent, they market them in a way that is disgraceful, in my opinion. But that is,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Disgraceful. Take it easy, Mike.
You're right. You're right.
I'm
Shameful. It's shameful.
It is.
I take it back. It's not disgraceful.
I'm with Mike on this one. They went with the whole strategy of maybe if we make two 80-year-old men fight each other who were, relevant in a past life, they'll put some of the shine onto, our younger talent and stars. But it doesn't work that way, because the kind of fans you attract when you put on Royce Gracie versus Shamrock,
That's funny,
are not the kind of people who are going to get invested in your up-and-coming talents. They're just not. They're the people who are coming for the freak show aspect, or because they want the nostalgia of, going back to a different era of MMA.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, PFL's doing well because they market their guys the way they should be marketed.
But I do think there needs to be a space for freak show fights. I just think
Sure.
It's called Rising, and no one watches it.
But hilarious. What was that guy?
I wish they did.
Karate super champ. Oh man, I can't remember his name. He's black guy.
Michael Venom Page?
No, the other one.
You said black guy or white guy?
Raymond Daniels.
Raymond Daniels.
Yeah,
loved that fight. That was one of my favorite fights. And I watched
the 720 elbow.
Yeah, man, he was pulling out some insane stuff, and I wouldn't want everything to be so competitive, so serious that we lose that kind of fight, because I thought that was a great fight as well. Not that it wasn't serious.
Bellator does that a lot.
That's not my discussion. The thing is, why are you having? Where I would get upset is if Raymond Daniels is the main event over. That's where I would get upset.
Hold on, Raymond Daniels has every business being the main event because he's a legitimate draw. And for those who don't know,
he's only
in Glory
one
Kickboxing.
MMA fight. What are we talking about?
He's only fought one MMA fight, but we're talking about Bellator here, right? And you do need to kind of. I have a problem with a 50-year-old Royce Gracie headlining a card. I don't have a problem with Raymond Daniels, who could still be competitive in a striking sense with some of the best in the world, even in MMA. Someone who had a competitive fight with Nicky Holtzkin, He had a competitive fight with Nicky Holtzkin. He had a competitive fight with Joe Valtellini. Two of the best strikers
Raymond
ever.
Daniels was 40, though. So I think we're definitely treading, what's 40, what's 50. But, yeah, no, I do think, he's definitely still competitive as it comes to, striking. He didn't even want to wrestle, from what I remember. But we're going down a rabbit hole.
But, my point is with all this marketing is that, I don't have a problem. If you really want Ken Shamrock versus Kimbo Slice, God rest his soul, why is it your main event? That's all I'm trying to say.
And the ethics of that fight, even the Data 5000 Kimbo Slice fight, where
God rest his soul.
Yeah, rest his soul, where Data 5000 died after that fight.
No, nearly.
No, he died. He flatlined. When putting him into the ambulance, he flatlined. So it's clearly this is not. There's ethical concerns with. That's shameful in my view. You're sanctioning a fight with somebody who's not a professional athlete at this level, isn't in the correct shape in order to put their body under these kinds of this kind of strain. Come on, that you literally had a man dying after your fight. I would add as well. I like
Scott Coker, but.
I think this is a subpar formula. I mean, look at the big three. You got, I don't want to say washed up, but you got, guys who are still trying to, I still got it, head ass, on the court trying to, put up shots, whatever. You're going to make some money, but it's really just guys who are, looking for the nostalgia of it all. It's not anybody who's actually trying to be a fan of the sport. It's a formula that's only just going to get you some, leftover change.
Fair. I think it's a fair critique. It is very clickbaity.
If I could add one more thing to it, I do say David's point of, sometimes you want to put on a squash match because it yields big results. You don't have so much depth in your division, and you want to build up your stars, make them a highlight reel. Understandable. Now there's that, and then there's booking, what's his name? Black Gentleman Karate. I just forgot him.
Raymond Daniels.
No, other one that
Michael Venom Page.
And Michael Venom Page. And then there's booking Michael Venom Page against a 3-0 unknown Irish fighter. 3-0.
Oh, you mean Keely?
Keely.
Don't diss Keely.
Coming off of
SBG.
Coming off of his loss to what is wrong with my brain today?
You're talking about one of the best welterweights in the world.
Yeah. Coming off his loss to
Come on, there it is. Come on, say it. Say it.
Help me out here.
Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
Come on.
Throw me a bone here.
He's Brazilian.
Yep.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Really.
Yeah. I can picture him in my head. I
great leg kicks.
Yes, he does have great leg kicks, dude. He started figuring any names for me. Rory McDonald versus.
Fine, David. Tell him.
You tell him. I actually don't know who it is.
Throw me a bone, dude.
You know what? It's hilarious. I actually forgot his name.
I'm picturing his face and his brother's face in my mind who fought in the UFC. His brother fought in the UFC.
Why am I drawing a blank?
Was on the Ultimate Fighter.
What? This is horrible.
We're an MMA podcast.
By the way, if he wants to come on the podcast, he's welcome.
Shouts out Michael Venom Page. I like his style. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Douglas Lima.
Douglas Lima.
There it is.
Yeah, so coming off of a fight with a world-class fighter like Douglas Lima and you book him against a 3-0 unknown.
That's disgraceful. I'm sorry. It's disgraceful.
I do think the UFC could book more favorable matchups for their stars sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with it once in a while. But, yeah.
Come on. It's still a sport. I agree. Okay, let's move on to this card that happened.
Figueiredo, Benavidez.
Baby, what a card.
Let me first say that Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez, I once said the first round between Andrade and Rose, the first time they fought, was as close to a 10-7 round as I've ever seen. If Benavidez somehow made it past that first round, I don't see in any universe how that isn't a 10-7, maybe a 10-6.
I agree. You have all the criteria you would need. If that were boxing, which obviously it's not, they would have called that a TKO. Like, he dropped him 3, possibly 4, if you count. Possibly 4 times dropped him in the first round. His Benavidez, his strikes seem to have no effect on Figueiredo. He's a brute, this man. He's a brute. He has uncanny power in his hands. He's sharp. He's sharp. Remember when we were talking about Joseph Benavidez like a KO artist, which he is, right? And power is the last thing to go on an old star. Figueiredo just no-sold every single one of his shots.
No, I don't even know, with all due respect, if he was no-selling. I just feel like they probably weren't having the effects like they would have had on a lot of other people. I really think Figueiredo...
This man's a monster.
Man, this guy's a beast, man. Like, in the most nice way possible. Like, he's quick. His stand-up is deadly. And honestly, in the grappling, like, he was stone cold. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing with what is, like, Benavidez' career is, like, 15 years or something like that? Like, man, this guy's a legend, like a vet. So the fact that this guy who was, like, a hairstylist in Brazil is all of a sudden just...
And a sushi chef.
And a sushi chef. Let's not forget the chef.
And he has a pet ox.
Okay, I didn't know that one.
I'm dead serious.
But I believe it. I heard he's born in like one of these remote places in Brazil, and I believe it. There's so many. Once again, it's a wonderful story if it gets told. There's so many guys who grew up in this tough background, so for him to have that moment, it's great. But I'm not gonna lie, it was also a little bit upsetting watching Benavidez, who's one of the more dignified. I hate that word so much, but one of the more
said like 80 times.
Yeah, one of the respected MMA fighters in the division or in the UFC really, to get just absolutely choked out, and it did not look like a good.
In terrifying fashion. That was one of those rear nakeds where, as Benavidez was going out, his facial expression changed to the point where it looked like he was having a seizure, and it's one of those scary rear nakeds because you're putting so much torque on the spine as you extend your opponent, and as they go unconscious and limp, right, they're not putting any more muscular resistance, so you're just able to apply that much
spine.
Yeah, you're pretty much crushing their
scary.
Man, it was super scary. And you know what the crazy part about it for me was, a few of the rare naked chokes before that, like I thought like he was done. Like I thought there's no way. Like at first he didn't even like get under the neck, and then he was just like cinching up, like literally in each attempt getting into a better and better position. And I'm like, okay, man, this is not looking good for Benavidez.
Dude.
Which to me, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to me, is impressive because Benavidez, renowned for his submission defense, this is a man who Demetrius Johnson couldn't hold down. He was funk rolling. Like, he master of the funk roll, master of escape, somebody who was submitting black belts throughout his career. So even to submit a hurt Benavidez in my books is incredibly impressive. Even an aged Benavidez. It's incredible. And can I just say, I have a certain amount of compassion for these figures like Benavidez, who in the prime of their career, I think deserve to be champions, had the work ethic of the champion, the skills to be a champion, and were beloved like champions. But there's just one fighter in their division by the name of Demetrius Johnson. Anderson Silva, right?
John Jones. The list goes on.
Yeah. Where they're kind of going to be, I don't want to say forgotten, but definitely not given the respect that I feel they deserve by how we're going to remember them as stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? To me, like this, from a technical perspective, first sequence of the fight. This is when I knew, because I put out a prediction video and I said quote unquote, this is the fight I had the least trouble predicting because the advantage in power, speed, and strength was just astronomical the first time. Astronomical. And so first sequence of the fight, Joseph Benavidez comes in there, tries to bury his head inside Figueiredo's chest and throw in a 3-punch combo. And Figueiredo steps back, throws that right hand over the top of his ear, dropped him. I knew from that point on this was not going to be close. It was not going to be close because, it was just not going to be close.
No, especially because remembering back to that moment after Figueiredo sat him down, Benavidez's whole demeanor and game plan changed. Right now, it wasn't so much let's work in volume and combinations and try and overwhelm the larger fighter. It changed to, Figueiredo is hot potato, and I've got to stay away from him and kick him from the outside. And against someone with that much length on you, it's a difficult prospect.
And speed, not just length, but also speed. Man, like he's going to be a problem for a lot of other fighters. Because one of my questions is, where does Benavidez go from here? But before that, like, where does Figueiredo go from here? Like, I want to see him at 135. I watched that Alexander Pantoja versus
Askarov.
No disrespect to those guys, because you know how I feel about fighters, but he is a problem. Like, Figueiredo is a problem. Those dudes are not moving in the same way, in my opinion. Askarov seemed like a decent wrestler, like a really good wrestler, but other than that, like, stand up, like, man, he looks supremely powerful. But
you know what? I will say the last guy to beat Deiveson Figueiredo was Moreno, right? Moreno lost to Pantoja twice.
Was it Moreno? Are you sure?
I believe it was Moreno.
Because I think he had another loss. Let me pull this up. I want to say as well, David, before we start talking about jumping to 35, I think for the first time in a long time, 125 is interesting again. Interesting because it's competitive, and interesting because we have a lot of cool matchups that we can make. And if the UFC can't market Deiveson Figueiredo, then they can't market anybody. Because this guy is weird. He's interesting. Admittedly, he doesn't speak English, but which is always not a plus when marketing to, a company based in the US.
You don't even have to speak English well. Like we've seen with Habib, that if you can just be interesting.
Anderson Silva, Habib, yeah.
Okay, I think there's a fight. Okay, so his last loss is Jussier Formiga, who's not a bad fight. Like, he's not a bad fighter. He's actually
excellent fighter.
That would be really good. But other than that, with all due respect to everyone, like, yeah, there's nothing really that interests me in this division. I actually think this is one of the weaker divisions.
Well, okay, let me explain.
Let's run through it for a moment.
Okay, let me explain like this. To just if I'm a promoter, right? This is how I market it. Jussier Formiga is the last guy to beat Deiveson Figueiredo. Joseph Benavidez, he proceeded after that to go on a 3-fight losing streak to Joseph Benavidez, Brandon Moreno, Alex Perez. Now, Alex Perez, I don't think is in the UFC anymore, or if he is, he's out of the picture. Brandon Moreno lost to Pantoja twice, and Pantoja just lost to Askar Askarov.
In my view, I think Pantoja won that fight. I
Okay.
really.
We can
I
talk
fundamentally.
He won the first round. He won the
I
first
think
round.
I just want to explain this.
I think he won 2 rounds to 1. But go on, Mike. Sorry.
I can see it.
All right, we can talk about it later. It's literally the next fight I want to talk about,
Yeah.
so it's fine. But what I'm trying to explain is that I know that Figueiredo looked extreme, like just a different breed of human being against Benavidez. But you don't know what a different style, a different look, and some adjustments from another fighter can do to change your outlook on how a fighter looks.
I agree. And as much as, Joseph Benavidez, we all respect his accomplishments and his skills, his striking style in recent years has become a little bit lead with your head, not exactly defensively responsible, relying a bit on his gift of power. And I'm looking down these rankings now, and there's a few matchups I would personally love to see. First of all, Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Who doesn't love that fight? I don't know if you guys have seen Brandon Moreno fight before.
Sign me up.
But
He's
he's signed me up. He is dynamic. He hits hard, and he just beat Kai Kara France, who is a prospect out of the same gym, a highly touted prospect out of the same
City
gym.
Kickboxing.
He was okay. I've watched a couple of his fights. He's decent, yeah.
And him and Brandon Moreno went to war. That is my low-key sleeper for possibly best 125 fight I've ever seen. But
right. I thought Pantoja definitely, look, going into this fight, I know I predicted Askarov, but I only predicted Askarov to win against Pantoja because Brandon Moreno just, from hearing what I was hearing, didn't have all the marbles into one basket. I mean, when you're facing a guy like Askarov, you need all the marbles in the basket. So I truly think that Pantoja, with a camp focused on Deiveson Figueiredo, could give Deiveson Figueiredo some problems as well. Right?
yeah,
So
I agree. And I to that Pantoja versus Askarov fight, I still maintain that I think Pantoja won. I think he gassed hard in the third round. He definitely lost that third.
Yeah.
But the takedowns and didn't seem to count for much in the first 2 rounds. And he finished both of the rounds with a significant amount of time on Askarov's back, which doesn't mean nothing. And he was outstriking him.
I would definitely agree he was outstriking him. And I would say, for me, from what I remember, I'd say number 1, Pantoja, because the submission attempts were crazy. Number 2 number 3 was definitely Askarov, as you said, because I think Pantoja by that point was a little bit more tired. But I don't think it was as dominant as the round 1 was. And I think the round 2 was probably the most, it was probably the closest round, but I would still give that to Askarov just because he looked a little bit more energetic throughout the fight. But honestly, I see your point, and it could have gone either way.
You know what? I do think it really goes to the lesson of how much do you value a takedown in MMA? Because I've always talked about this. I remember watching the UFC, but watching MMA in general. And it seemed like if you got a takedown, you won the round in the early days. You know what I'm saying? And we're a long way away from that, but I still think there's, a lot of difficulty in determining how much a takedown matters, right? Like a takedown with control. I'm not talking hey, you take somebody down and he got right back up after 10, 15 seconds. I'm talking, Askarov took him down, in the first round, twice? And then had him down for a minute each time? How much do you value that? How much do you value that, right? And I think this is the conversation that I don't think, I'm not saying the judges were robbing Pantoja. I'm not saying the judges don't know what they're doing in this instance. even though most instances they don't. But like, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that I think we as MMA fans and MMA pundits need to have a discussion on how much we value takedowns, right? And I think this fight's very interesting. It's not the most egregious thing I've ever seen in my life, but I think this fight is a very interesting conversation that delves into that realm. Because for the first 2 rounds, there's 2 certainties. Pantoja was winning the striking, but Askarov got the takedowns. Right?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Well, don't forget the back control that Pantoja had as well for the last part of the first 2 rounds. That has to factor into the decision. But I agree. I do remember that time in MMA where it's like 1 takedown means you've won the entire round, regardless of, and I think that's because there were a lot of MMA judges who came from a grappling background who were a little bit uneducated as far as the striking would go. But it's a conversation to be had. I think we skipped over a very interesting fight.
Oh, man.
And
yeah,
I just want to shout out all the haters. All the haters out there told me that leg locks don't work at a high level at MMA.
Hilarious.
Eat your heart out.
Hilarious. I feel, this is
Sure.
a bad loss for Gastelum.
I shouldn't let that happen, honestly. Like,
Look,
how does somebody's
Just heard me talk.
hold on, how
Hold
does somebody's arm out strengthen your leg?
That's
Like-
not no, Jeremy.
No,
No,
that's not what it is.
No, that's not what it is. It's it may look that way, but when you're in that position, it's called the saddle. No, that's not the saddle. The game over position. Because basically what you're doing is you're using both of your legs, to isolate and control their one leg.
Yeah.
All your arm is doing is just
It's
tweaking
just
the heel
turning
upwards.
yeah.
And you, I'm sure, know from your football days where there's a lot of torn ACLs in football because the knee does not have that much latitude in how it bends left to right. So when you start tweaking on that knee, it's millimeters before somebody isn't able to walk again or not able to walk again, but like at least
the heel hook.
Yeah, it takes a year off your career if you.
What I will say though, and I love that you said that because I think, man, I saw the most gruesome knee bar in the women's fight actually.
We'll get to that.
Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, like
because I want to explain something.
Gruesome. But no, I wanted to talk about the heel hook really quickly because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, but Gastelum he got out of it first, and then he got caught into it again, and it's almost like he made a mistake that he didn't turn with the maneuver. He had kind of like stayed in place, and that got Hermanson a little more time to get a better grip.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
So
This
here's
is kind of my
where I
wheelhouse.
get really upset with Gastelum is every once in a while he'll make these weird decisions, right? And this is where I always make the argument: you don't know what Gastelum you're going to get, right? Because you're going to either get the guy who nearly beat Israel Adesanya for the title, or you're going to get the guy who gets gun shy against Darren Till, or the guy who takes Jack Hermanson down, right? And I get it. He's got the double underhook. You're reversing him. You got to take him down. You get up the first time, evade the heel hook the first time, and go right back into his guard.
In defense. And this is, as you know, heel hooks and leg locks generally are kind of my wheelhouse. Just saying. Shout out to Eric because this setup that our friend of the podcast, Eric Wilson, who we had on a couple weeks ago, this is his setup. He loves this setup that Jack Hermanson used. You go to that Z-guard. Z-guard is when you have the shin across the stomach, and you reach underneath as the opponent tries to pass, and you go from Z-guard to X-guard to
single leg X
to that position, right?
So
basically, yeah. It's difficult. Like, in Gastelum's defense, man, but you don't know whether you should roll. I know. The decision to, You don't know whether in that position the right idea is to roll, which sometimes you roll, and what ends up happening is they just clamp down harder and follow you and end up tearing your knee regardless of what you do, or stay in place and try and plant your foot on the floor. That's another legitimate defense as well. put your heel to the mat, stand up, and put your weight on that leg, which
and then push that game over to the side and then
Yeah.
shimmy your way back up. Look, what I'm saying though, that's not even what I'm talking about. He
That's
got
what I
in
was
there.
talking about. So
Yeah,
thank you
no,
for that.
that's
That was
not what I'm
actually
talking about. He
educative.
got
for
in
me.
there. It is what it is, mea culpa. What I'm saying is that remember the first time Jack Hermanson tried for that heel hook. He gets the single leg X, and then gets the game over, and then nearly gets the game over, but Gastelum rolls out and then sits right back into his guard. He literally gets his leg out, turns right back in, and gets back to the guard. All your best stuff is striking. And you know that Jack Hermanson is very, if anything we learned from that Jared Cannonier fight is he's an awkward striker, but he's an easy to time striker. Once you figure him out, you can catch him. And you know it's a matter of time before you can start catching him with your straight left. That's your best stuff. Your straight left, your left hook, and your right hook. What do? Do you A, get right back up, move across the fence and get him to stand back up where you can start timing him? Or do you B, go right back into his guard? And this is where I get mad with Gastelum.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't want to be too critical about Gastelum because I don't think that you guys would know better than me, but it's tough to make the right decision every single time in a scenario like that, especially during a scramble, because Hermanson's got 6 inches on Gastelum. He's a rangy dude. Normally when you stand up, you can kind of shimmy yourself off the leg lock, but that wasn't the case this time. So, and also, I just want to say, in defense of Gastelum, he's 28. A lot of people are talking about, he isn't elite, and where does his career go from here? But he's still got plenty of time to either drop down a division or kind of figure out these kinks in his game and still be a champion from my end.
Yeah,
Well,
I think the strength of let me try and find the middle ground because I do think that Gastelum definitely made an error in judgment, and man, we got to find out that against a submission artist with the kind of skills of Jack Hermanson, you can't afford to make those small errors in judgments. And it's tough because at 185, let's look at the strength of schedule Calvin Gastelum has had and the strength of competition he's faced. I think he's on a 4-fight losing streak at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
There is 3 fights. There is not a lot at the elite of the middleweight division. There is not a ton of room for error, man. Yeah, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and in his last 6, he's 4-2.
2-4?
Yeah, 2-4. My mistake. That's what I meant to say. 2 wins, 4 losses in his last 6. So yeah,
because he was on a 3-fight winning streak before the loss to Sanya.
No, he was. His schedule was Chris Weidman. The loss to that was the loss to Armstrong.
You're right.
And then there was a canceled bout with Anderson Silva, and then we had Bisping, win against Bisping, a win against Jacare, canceled fight against Robert Whitaker, and then we have our losing skid of Adesanya, Darren Till, and Jack Hermanson.
Well, see, in fairness, though, sorry,
that is a strong schedule.
I was gonna say also 2016 he fought Johnny Hendricks and Tim Kennedy, which is crazy. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he won both fights in the middleweight.
He beat Vitor Belfort, but that got overturned because he smoked some weed.
Which is
Can you think? Oh, that's right. I forgot about. Can you think of a more BS? Sorry, don't get me started on that.
And also, I'm looking at his fight history. Yeah, no, it was completely.
Come on. One more time, Jared.
Stay off the weed.
Stay off the damn weed. Honestly, the funniest one is when he just goes, "Stay off the weed."
Hilarious. Before that, Gastelum, who is definitely a marijuana advocate, so shout out to him. He fought Tyron Woodley, he fought Nate Marquardt, and he fought Neil Magny. Those are nothing but tough fights. It's
Talk about strength of schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point. Jake Allenberg, okay, Rick Story, Nico.
Those are Nico Muske, who, all due respect to him, I haven't heard of him, but yeah, that's oh man.
Well, Rick Story is a tough fight. He's a tough out, especially around that time. What was that? 2014, 2013. Rick Story was a tough out.
And his win, let's not forget how he got into this like division. His first win, first real win in the UFC was against Uriah Hall. Like, let's put some respect on the man. Let's put some respect on the man.
Yeah, but in all honesty, I agree with Mike in the sense that he is one of these figures where, we know his ceiling could be a lot higher than what his record shows. And it's frustrating, but 185 is a shark tank, my friends.
Do you think he started too young?
No, I
don't think so. Because
I just think that middleweight is murderer's row. Like it's murderer's row. A lot of people don't talk about it.
This is a man who's up at middleweight for no other reason than he kept missing weight at welterweight.
It's his natural weight.
This man is.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Hold on. It's his natural weight. Stay off the damn Twinkies.
Hilarious. Okay, let's move
Stay off the damn churros.
I know that Michael has like a thing to get to, so I'm looking at the time.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts about the Hermansson-Gastelum fight? Like, who does Hermansson take next?
You know what? Hermansson had this really intelligent kind of thought out thing where he said he fights winner of Till versus Whitaker, winner of Asanya and Bordachina, which is another thing that got announced, but it's not confirmed, but it's announced. Bordachina versus Asanya fights Cannonier, and then winner of Cannonier and Asanya or Till or Bordachina faces the winner of Hermansson versus Till Whitaker. Does that make sense?
I think Cannonier should fight the winner versus Hermansson versus whoever.
Okay, so let me.
Who did he call out the winner of Till Whitaker?
Yeah, he called out the winner of Till Whitaker. So let's say in alternate universe, Whitaker wins, right? If Whitaker were to win, then Hermansson would face Whitaker, right?
Yeah.
Let's say in some alternate universe.
Then.
Yeah. The winner, he would say the winner of Whitaker versus Hermansson. So let's say in this alternate universe, Hermansson beat Whitaker. That person should face the winner of Jared Cannonier versus Asanya versus Paulo Costa. So let's say Asanya beats Paulo Costa and Jared Cannonier beats.
I don't believe Cannonier is next for the title shot. I'm sorry.
No, but that's what he said. I think that was.
No, I'm just reacting to what he's saying. Cannonier is coming off a loss. I think he should be fighting.
No, he's not. He's coming off a win.
Cannonier?
Yeah, he's coming up. He's on a 3-fight win streak.
Yeah, he's on a three-fight win streak. He beat Hermansson.
Am I thinking of
Hermansson? Yeah.
Do you know? You just listed the entire middleweight top 6 except for one man. And he doesn't have a fight. I honestly think
he's facing Uriah Hall, so he's out.
He's facing Uriah Hall.
Yeah, so he's out.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Oh, I did not know about that. Yeah. Oh, that is a banger if I ever heard of one. That's an interesting fight.
Yeah.
I think probably easy double.
You know what? I think Jared Cannonier though deserves a title shot.
Yeah,
Jared Cannonier deserves a title shot.
My bad. I'm completely right.
Look, he beat Jack Hermansson clean, no controversy, kicked his ass.
Yeah, that was good.
Jack Hermansson just beat a former title challenger in 78 seconds.
Yeah, he beat Anderson Silva. Like, come on.
Okay, fine, but he also.
No, I'm not saying that's bad.
Hold on.
Title shot.
Sorry.
From Anderson Silva. So what's the difference here? Like, no, I'm agreeing with you guys. Like, I thought he was coming off a loss. I think I'm getting him mixed with the guy in light heavyweight. Oh man, who had that shock win, and everyone was like, is it Jackson? Corey Jackson?
Oh, Anderson. Corey Anderson. For some reason, But anyway, I think if he's coming off a 3-fight win streak, and you've got Anderson Silva and Jack Hermansson, who's no joke there, then that kind of makes sense for him to fight next.
Yeah. So moving on, guys. What is the next fight on this card here that we have?
Oh man, the Fiziev fight, or do we want to talk about the knee bar?
Oh, first let's start with Fiziev, man. Like that. That is what high-level traditional Muay Thai looks like, man. From the gate, this guy was captured my heart, man. A man out for my heart, throwing switch kicks, following it up with combinations into the clinch, like closing the distance. Mike, how many times do I say that the answer to finishing a combination is either move out of the way or what? Clinch, man. More people need to be fighting into the clinch, striking into the clinch.
I think what happens with Muay Thai guys when they get to MMA is they get gun shy about the clinch because clinches lean to takedowns, but not if you get that double collar.
Not when you come from that part of the world, man, where everybody and their mother is a killer wrestler. Like these, man, we're witnessing we're witnessing an invasion from Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
It's and Central Asia.
But you know what it comes down to?
What a performance!
What it comes down to, though? I will say this. First off, Fiziev, no setup in the kick. No hitch in the kick, none. And I explained this to all the kids at MAC. When you're kicking, a lot of the times why your speed isn't as high. It's not because you're not an athlete. It's not because your legs are slow or anything like that. It's because there's a hitch. Maybe you're telegraphing it. Maybe you're leaning off to one side. Maybe not a single hitch in the kick.
And such efficiency of movement. Yeah.
The efficiency in the movement. But the other thing is that the reason why you're seeing a lot of these Eastern European guys come in here and clean house, right? Peter Yan, Zabit, Habib, Islam Makhachev, et cetera, is because in that part of the world,
Sergey Spivak,
right? In that part of the world, there's a respect and reverence for their combat sports athletes.
Yes.
And we don't have the same thing here.
I agree. I agree. And that respect and reverence translates into excellent development amateur programs that they have there, where these guys have hundreds of amateur fights.
Again, it's poor, for the most part, poorer nations. But you see what happens when people care. That is the point I'm trying to make. They care.
Yeah.
And that's what you need here.
That's like a little bit of fair, because you can't tell me places like England which Diakise is from, don't care about.
Not for the grappling. Their grappling program, not as much. And this is their Muay Thai program, not as much. Boxing, I'm with you. Boxing, 100%.
There's a lot of good English kickboxers, man.
Right?
There are, and English Muay Thai, to defend English Muay Thai is elite with Liam Harrison and John Haggerty.
You're right. John Haggerty, you can throw that.
But I will say, as much as there is a solid English Muay Thai scene, the amount of competition that's available to you is not exactly the same as these places where people are getting amateur records of 305. It's tough, and I agree with Mike to his point. There is more of a reverence with combat sports. Like here in our part of the world, combat sports, it almost feels like a niche group, right? It's like an if you know kind of thing. But the general public, they don't really care about combat sports. It's something else. It's something. It's dirty. It's dirty almost. It's gladiatorial. But in a lot of places in Eastern Europe, there's just a general reverence amongst everybody for combat sports athletes. And how do you affect society in that way? I don't know. You just can't. Some different societies just have different appetites for these kinds of things, I guess.
I just think that, you can't tell me in a nation look, Canada just moved into a top 10 economy in the world, right? It goes in and out. It's like somewhere in the 10th, 11th, 12th. It moves in and out. America, as of right now, is a top 2 to 3 economy in the world, depending on the time. It's number one, but it's number one, but China's moving in. Fine, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is this.
Not even close, but go on.
Okay, fine. We can have this political discussion later. But the point I'm trying to make is the point I'm trying to make is These are two top 10 economies. And you're telling me we can't pour money into our development system of grappling. Meanwhile, there is money going into other things like Buckabee. What are we doing?
Why would they care?
It's priorities, yeah.
Grappling.
Right? No, but what I'm trying to explain is that they can, if we want to have, like, I don't know why I got into this soapbox, but if we want to have good developmental system, right, for our combat sports system in Canada, why is amateur mixed martial arts still illegal?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and this kind of harkens back to the discussion we had about combat sports in schools and potentially having grappling in schools. It's kind of like, as far as grappling, it's like, why not? In Canada, we don't do any sport well except hockey. This kind of seems like an open lane for us to go down to do jiu-jitsu really, really well.
And the sad thing is that we got guys who live here who can throw down. Justin Bruckman's in Oshawa teaching classes. Right? What are we doing? Like, no, I'm serious. What are we doing? Rory McDonald is in London pumping out fighter after fighter after fighter. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's the age-old problem of, we've got to travel to the other end of the earth to get fights as Canadian fighters, or we have to, take a fight against our debut fight against somebody who's been training for 10 years. And we're doing a disservice to our Ontario athletes who, no disrespect to Quebec, but their amateur program has been up and running for a while. And for a long time, a lot of the good talent has been coming out of Quebec, good Canadian talent. You can't tell me that Ontario doesn't have as much mixed martial arts talent as Quebec. I'm sorry. I could list off 5 guys on the top of my head right now who, with the right experience and the right opportunities, could be in the UFC, no problem.
Man,
I'm not gonna lie. Something in the water in Quebec. I'm not gonna lie.
Something. I do think it's
like for a long time, Quebec had the best football. I mean, they did have junior colleges, so you're right. They do have a system there that helps facilitate better athletes, but I don't know. I'm not even gonna lie. There's something in the water in Quebec. Maybe they have a rougher life. I don't know, but Ontario, yeah.
But over here, it's a rough life. Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is, you can't
Tabernacle.
You can't tell me we can't get legislation going for Ontario to just even have amateur mixed martial arts, to have jiu-jitsu be like. It comes down to this. When you go down to Kazakhstan, when you go down to Dagestan, when you go down to Chechnya, when you go to other places of the world, Thailand, they treat their combat sports athletes with respect. They treat the sport with respect. They treat grappling with respect. They treat their striking sports with respect. And you come down here to Canada and America, and and in Canada, everyone knows this. If you're not a hockey player, good luck getting good development here. All the basketball players have to go down to the States.
It's true. It's
right?
true. I think the question's an economic one, honestly. I don't think it's necessarily like...
I don't think it's economic. I think it's cultural, but go on.
No, I think, cultural.
I think it's a column A, column B, but I just think that, we spend so much resources. I think we spend so much money on so much useless stuff. You're telling me we can't add grappling? I'm not even asking for money. I'm just asking for legislation.
I think what would do us very well, and I said this before in the episode where we debated this on schools. I'll say it again. Man, the gate for wrestling is not closed, but the top nations in wrestling are kind of established. You've got your Eastern Bloc nations, your Russia, you've got your Central Asian nations as far as Iran and Uzbekistan. America's a strong player in wrestling from time to time as well. Japan, kind of as a second tier just below those other very strong nations in wrestling. Jiu-jitsu, guys. Jiu-jitsu. Let's bring it into schools. We need some kind of, it's non-threatening. You can sell it to the Karens and the school administrators who are like, oh, no, we don't do, it's the gentle art. Okay, it's the gentle
I
art.
wouldn't go that far, man. Not after that rear naked choke I saw on the weekend. Cannot tell me that's the gentle art. But I will say this: I actually disagree fundamentally about wrestling nations being already formed. I think that that's actually, even though those countries might have a history thing, historical, a history of strong wrestling programs, I generally think it's usually an economic one in terms of when you invest in something and you put money towards something, people get good at that. That's why
It's
the U.S. dominates sports because they, more than anybody, invest in sports. So, and sport programs, and there's a financial incentive to it. So, and I say this maybe as a passionate, I generally feel no matter what sport, if you put money into Africa, just I mean, remember, and I'm saying this as somebody who grew up there. The amount of people on the streets, like that, or look like Francis Ngannou's like older brother, for real. Like you would be surprised if you started training those kids from like 5,
There's
6.
untapped potential there.
Man, like come on, you
There's
can't
untapped
tell me
potential.
it's a formed thing for me.
well,
Personally.
it's formed in the sense that what you would need, you need a couple of things. But to your point about Africa, I agree, especially after I saw the video of those Senegalese wrestlers. Have you seen
Yeah.
that Senegalese wrestling?
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
Terrifying. But I agree. If you invest money into something, but in order to invest money into it, you need to make it a priority. In order to make a priority, we need to win the hearts and minds of people. In order to do that, you need to get a generation that's grown up grappling, and you have to bring it into the school system. And I think another thing, on top of all that chain of events I just listed that you need to persuade high-level talent to come over here to establish the programs because we need the knowledge as well. And as far as jiu-jitsu, we have that. We have our Spider Rob DeSenza, right?
Yeah.
We have Jesse Richardson. We have forgive me, name of the Future BJJ, Bruckman,
McDonald.
The list goes on and on and on. The guy in Hamilton who fought John Fitch, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But man, the talent's here, right? We just need the correct framing. The funding's there. To David's point, we need to be putting funding into that. But to do that, you have to win the hearts and minds of the people.
For sure. I don't think that coming at it from anything other than this is a brutal sport. I think it's important to be genuine in that because, I don't think kids, I'm not sure I don't think the sport is for everyone, and I think that's what's holding it back. I think there's a safety element that people on both sides don't truly understand yet, and that's why everyone's so hesitant.
Yeah, I always say it's like a lot of times with these discussions, the supporters denounce the dangers and the risks too much, and the detractors almost conflate the dangers, right? Yeah. So like you need someone who's going to come at it from the mill perspective and be like, listen, here's what it is, but I'm just saying that back on Fiziev, right? My bad. Whatever.
No, it's an interesting discussion. I'm like, yeah, no.
But like my point is that like you see what happens when you come from a country that respects the grappling and respects not even grappling but respects the combat sports athletes, whether it's grappling or striking. And he goes to Tiger Muay Thai and he learns and he goes back to Kazakhstan and he's treated like a hero. Sorry, not even Kazakhstan. Sorry. What's the country he's from?
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, Kyrgyzstan.
No. Did you say Azerbaijan?
He said he shouted at both Kyrgyzstan and
He's
Azerbaijan.
Kyrgyzstan.
He probably
Did you watch his interview?
I had a coach from Kyrgyzstan.
Hilarious.
Tough guy.
Why did I say Kazakhstan? But you get what the point I'm trying to make, right?
I do. And point taken, right? Experience is invaluable in combat sports, and I just want to give props to Mark Chikese because in that third round, he was starting to figure out, aspects of what's his name? It keeps eluding me.
Fiziev or Fizev? Is it Fizev or Fiziev?
I heard Fiziev.
He was starting to figure out his timing. He was starting to get that left hand through, sneak that left hand through rather. He was starting to find the timing on his straights, and not crack the code a little bit, but he was making it a more competitive fight towards the end, which is not an easy thing to do when you've been getting absolutely battered for those first 2 rounds. Those body kicks.
That body kick. The
Hell.
Brutal.
It was like
gunshots. Sounded like
Yeah.
that's the sound you hear on the pads.
That sounded like Babe Ruth hitting a home run. Like that was just crack.
But it felt just as sweet for Fiziev as well.
Well, you know what's crazy is that I was just surprised. Like typically in MMA, a body kick with no setup is death, and he just
Typically, a body kick with no setup is death.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not for him. Not for him.
Okay, do you guys want to talk about that knee bar? Brutal.
How could we not? Yeah, Lipski versus Carolina.
Wow. Shouts out Luana, whose nickname is Dread. I loved it. I loved her little hop step coming into the fight.
Okay, both of them had sick
crazy with
nicknames. Both of them had
You
some
know what's
sick-
crazy though? She was probably 2 seconds away from an inverted calf slicer herself.
Bear trap. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's called the bear trap.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
think those were high-level grapplers, in my opinion? Because that's kind of from what I heard in terms of the commentary, it was sounding like perhaps Luana was a little too calm in that position, and she should have been more defensively aware, and that's why she basically let her just like sit on her chest.
I think it's a risk assessment. I think it's a risk assessment. She probably thought, okay, worst comes to worst, she's gonna kind of fish for this knee bar. I'm gonna grab her, get her into that. I call it an inverted calf slicer. It's probably a bear trap. You're right.
Bear trap is an inverted calf slicer.
Yeah. So inverted calf slicer, right? And I'm going to get it through, right? And so what happened is with Lipski, she actually straightened the knee out to allow it to bend backwards, right?
Yeah.
Because Luana was kind of tiptoeing her knee to the right side or left side, depending on the camera angle. And then Lipski was like, nope, it's coming straight and it's coming with me. And, so I would say it's not Calvin Gastelum versus Jack Hermanson in sense of like, okay, tactical error, but it is Luana being overzealous a little bit. Yeah.
I'm going to disagree. I think it was a worse tactical error than it was not even a tactical error. It was a technical error. So as far as to your point, David, you're actually supposed to pull that person onto you when you're in the bear trap, right? You want to lace the leg through so that the blade of the shin is facing the knee, and you want to pull them onto you like you're taking their back. Now, the one mistake, and nobody picked up on it, that Carolina made was you're supposed to triangle your leg, right?
Oh.
So yeah.
Hey, she didn't triangle the leg.
She didn't triangle her leg.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right, David?
Yeah. Like
that foot
with your leg, yeah.
Exactly, and that foot was just left out there to dangle. So Lipski, credit to her, saw that leg dangling out there, grabbed the heel, and stood up, and that's all it took. And yeah, you can't leave that leg dangling out there in a calf slicer. It's dangerous, and it's one of those positions where it's kind of what's that?
The problem is no one picks up on that. Like I didn't even pick up on that till you just brought it up. Like
I was able to pick up on that because as a new blue belt, when I first got my blue belt, that was the only move I was getting people with, was that calf slicer and the calf slicer from the front. I got a sneaky setup from sitting guard for setting up a different calf slicer.
Oh, do you push them to the side over? Okay, anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, I'll show you. But so I've kind of studied that position quite a bit, and even with leaving her leg dangling out there, I was still cringing for Lipski's knee and shin, because that's one of those positions.
A second away. She was a second away from getting there.
Yeah, it's one of those positions. I call them gunslinger positions because it's like two cowboys pull their guns out, and whoever's quicker on the draw is going to win there, right? In this case, instead of a bullet wound to the chest, it's a destroyed ACL. And yeah,
man,
credit's brutal. Credit to Lipski, because a lot of fighters with less of a sense of calm might have tapped in that position.
It did look painful. It did. Yeah, man, it was a really interesting fight.
David, how about I put you in one next week and you can see what's going on.
Hilarious. Okay, is there anything else we wanted to talk about on the card?
I'll be honest, no. But
I think, man, do we want to get into fan questions? Sorry, go on, David.
Yeah, there's one fight I wanted to highlight just for really quickly. Joel Alvarez, Joel Duffy.
Oh yeah, Joe Duffy retired.
Oh, dude, this made me sad.
Man,
because I've been a big fan of Joe Duffy for a while.
It was kind of, we had a conversation earlier this week about shooting in for a takedown and getting caught in a guillotine, and it was just one of those again, because that's pretty much what happened.
And this time he went for that. A lot of guys are now going to this inverted guard for the guillotine, and it's not even an inverted guard. It's more like a half in, half out.
It's a butterfly hook with. Yeah, man. Joe Duffy, someone who I think another fighter people really won't get to appreciate exactly how talented he was because he had some tough losses, but a man who was putting it on Poirier, a man who beat Conor McGregor, phenomenal fighter, excellent boxing, just had some tough losses, came to the UFC just a little bit too late, but always a big fan and happy that he called it a career now before, I guess, carrying on a little bit longer than he should.
I mean, he was on a 3-fight losing streak anyway, so I think it's sad that he didn't get where he went out, but it is what it is.
I mean, do you guys want to do fan questions today?
Yes.
I would, but like I gotta go soon, so.
Okay, apologies. I have a few. We can save them.
No. Let's go through one, and then I guess the other two we'll do next time.
Okay, I've got some troll questions. I'll let me pull up a good one here on the old internet.
Man, okay. But anyway, I'll take this opportunity next week. Till Whitaker, it's not getting any love for some reason, which is shameful. Yeah, it's not getting any love.
I'm hearing a lot of hype, man, and even in the UK, I've been watching a lot of soccer on UK very legal streams, and they were hyping on legal on UK terrestrial TV. So like the UK are pumped about it. Like Darren Till's a huge star in the UK.
Till's a national hero there. But like,
and Whitaker's a big star in Australia in his own right as well, as far as I understand. I have a couple of Australian friends, and she's like, yeah, mate, Whitaker's actually kind of a national hero here. Hilarious. They're a big fan of Robert Whitaker.
For the first time in your life, Stefano, that was actually a really good impression of an accent. That was actually really good. I'll give it up. All right.
But you guys ready for this fan question?
Yeah, sure. Lay it on me.
So, and this is one that's near and dear to Michael Asiffo's heart. What do you think is the best traditional martial arts discipline for getting into MMA? And this one comes from Anonymous.
Oh, is it anonymous?
Yeah, it's
really?
Anonymous. Yeah.
Okay. Real quickly, I actually wouldn't say Taekwondo, although I wouldn't say it's Taekwondo. Yes! I wouldn't say it's Taekwondo. I think Taekwondo has its merits, but I actually say if you had to pick a traditional martial art or one in our traditional set, because I think Muay Thai is traditional too, if you think about it. But I would say karate.
Which style?
I would say full contact Kyokushin, but I'm okay with Shotokan. I'm okay with Shotokan or point fighting because karate has this weird, like, and you saw it with Lyoto Machida. They have this weird way of getting in and out in their footwork, and I think that can be useful. I think Robert Whitaker does it really well in like a brutal way where he goes in and out. And I think if you go to the right Taekwondo school, like a Kukiwan Taekwondo school, they do that with kicks really well as well. They can go in and out. And I think a lot of Muay Thai strikers, traditional Muay Thai strikers, don't really know how to defend that well.
Really quickly, Michael, I don't have any experience in this, but the one time I have sparred with a couple of Taekwondo guys, it has thrown me off so much because
it's an adaptation, right? That you got.
Man, you don't see the kicks coming. You definitely don't see like the punches coming because you're focused on the lead, which is way out of position. Like, why is this guy's profile in like on sideways as opposed to like in front of me and square? So yeah.
And they can switch stances too with Taekwondo and with karate, and that messes people up. This is why I try to explain to a lot of guys is that the problem with Taekwondo is not necessarily even the stuff. It's that once you get to a certain level, you're training for the Olympics. So all of a sudden, your contact and your mind for combat is not the same. So if you can get someone to adjust, and the same for point fighting karate and Kyokushin karate, if you can get them to adjust for MMA, they can give guys problems. So, right, I can go all day about this, but the point I'm trying to make is there's some things and some tactics that guys are just not used to that, and it's particularly for me, I think where they typically give guys the most issues is the switch stancing and the in and out. Because of those, I think that's why I would go with karate over taekwondo, because it's more complete, in my opinion, as currently constituted. But I think if you can get a taekwondo guy and you can train him with the hands and get his mind ready for combat, I think he can do well too. But I would say karate.
So I have an interesting take on this because, first of all, I agree with you. Like, Muay Thai is as much traditional and as old and as revered in Thailand as any of these martial arts that us ignorant Westerners consider to be traditional. So I guess we're just kind of talking about the martial arts that were around in, the
1980s.
Yeah, exactly. So my take on this is, and it's conditional upon an older rule set, I would say judo.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm biased. Yes, I started in judo. But I think that there hasn't been enough adaptation of good, clean judo technique into mixed martial arts, especially as far as the clinch. And I think the reason for that is because judo is kind of turned inward, and rather than adapting to the times, it's really Judo Canada and judo as a whole has kind of implemented really stupid rules, preventing people from grabbing the legs,
it's the same thing
limiting time on the ground. Yeah, it exists across traditional martial arts. You either adapt as a combative style or you become a weird McDojo kata thing. But judo, I think the elite of the elite judoka, they're tough, they're gritty, and they have phenomenal positional control to rival some of the best wrestlers. And their takedowns are cool. They're cool, and they would make grappling fun again. I think if we had some of the best judoka in the world putting their minds together and saying, you know what, let's adapt this stuff to work without a gi, with underhooks and whizzers and collar ties instead of grabbing the gi. And we got some actual legitimate high-level judoka that came into MMA in their athletic prime. We could have something to work with there.
I mean, Carl Parisian was the guy where I think a lot of people were, and Manny Gerbai.
Dan Kelly? Sorry.
And
Dan Kelly?
Sorry?
Hey.
Dan Kelly's a high level, no?
Dan Kelly's, he's not, yeah, he's I would say he's a high level judoka. He's not like Olympian, but, all right, was he an Olympian actually?
Rousey?
Ronda Rousey, Nakamura, for you youngins out there, Nakamura, and there's about 100 other judokas in Pride that
I've did some judo too. Like, there are some guys in judo who have been relatively successful. You just don't have that one signature champion who's winning with judo. You know what I'm saying? Besides Ronda Rousey, and even then, that's. Sorry?
She's become a bit of a. Yeah, I said Ronda Rousey, but she's become a bit of a.
Yeah, like Ronda Rousey, but even her, like once people start to get wise to her, like that clinch almost became part of her downfall because she's looking for that up high, clinch, and then people are hitting that right straight right down her mouth. So
yeah, her problem wasn't necessarily that her clinch was ineffective, just her means of securing it was
that's what I'm
a bit predictable. Like, yeah.
Sorry, Dan Kelly is a 4-time judo Olympian. So
my bad. I stand corrected.
He also was a 4-time judo Olympian for England. That
for Australia, but still.
Australia, you racist.
Wow. Come on.
Do we all look alike to you?
Yes. No. No.
Plays in 2004. That's not bad.
Yeah. No, he's legit. But yeah. Dan Kelly, if you're listening to this, we love you. But
love to have you on.
Yeah. No, I really would. He would kick my ass. But.
You remember that Rashad fight? That was amazing because he pulled out all the judo trips that you see like the 40-year-old man in the jiu-jitsu class using. All the old man judo. I'm cheering for him. Like, yes, old man judo. I love it.
No, but
all the foot sweeps.
I hear that. But no, I hear the judo aspect too because like, you know, you can definitely get some. I think there's some people that have done relatively well with judo or being exclusively judo, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't get you to the top. And often, I don't know why, but they've been relatively successful. But yeah, I actually think I'm gonna change my goal with judo just because. Although I still think Leo Machida with karate, Wonder Boy, MVP as a karate guy.
And you know what? There's a different style of karate that you didn't mention, because I think what you're referring to with those guys is the Shotokan point fighting. There's also, you mentioned Kyokushin full contact, and with that I thought you were going to go with your Bas Rutens, right? Who fought in a style of karate that, you know, Bas Ruten's style of karate that he fought in, that full contact Kyokushin. You're in the pocket. Yeah, you're not moving in and out of range. You're in the pocket trading head kicks. So it gives you
but like I think Kyokushin does relatively well, but I think the one that's interesting that I think can be a stylistic choice is Shotokan and point fighting. That in and out thing, like these guys just figure a way to get in, hit you with some hit you with some stuff, nearly swore, and get out. And I think you need that in MMA, especially when takedowns are a thing. Because if you use movement is a great defense for wrestling.
Distance management. Absolutely.
Want to talk about the other? Do another question, or do you want to wrap
I
up?
would love to, but like I legitimately have to go soon. So.
Right.
Yeah, we're up against it.
All right. Speaking of the karate, oh wow, that was gonna be a terrible take. Keep going on.
No. Go on.
No.
Don't leave us hanging. You can't just do that.
Karate, I don't know.
He's strong in your convictions, David.
Hilarious. Now forget it. I'm gonna leave that.
No. I'm not letting this go. Say it.
No.
You're just creating dead space. You're just creating dead space. Every second you don't say it, you're creating dead space.
Antonio Rogério Nogueira. I think that's the same Nogueira. If it is, wow.
No, that's the Lil Nog.
What about Little Nog? How did we get onto Little Nog?
Right?
Why are we talking about Little Nog?
Because he's fighting Hua.
Why?
That's what I said.
UFC. Are you Bellator?
That's what I said. Okay, all right. I thought it would just be.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, is it Rodrigo or Hojiro?
It's Little Nog. It's not Big Nog.
Oh, Hojiro.
Yeah, Hojiro is Little Nog.
Even still, UFC, you're better than that. Okay, this is a Bellator level of effort.
No mess.
No, but they wanted it. Why not? It's not going to be on the. See, I have no problem with old man fights if the two are like reasonably healthy and it's not on the main card or the main event.
This is the same little. He's not the same one who broke his neck, right?
No, against Bob Sapp.
They're twins.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know he has a twin, but he's been fighting for ages still. I knew they were like the twins have been fighting for ages, and Kua's been through some wars, so.
Yeah, complete reconstructive knee surgery on both knees as well.
All right. Good note to end the podcast then.
All right.
All right, Stefano, friend the children. Come on.
Children of the Lake X. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We come every week to bring you the best in mixed martial arts and sleeping Ghanaians. The least you could do in return, the least you could do, like, comment, subscribe, share. And if you don't, I know where you live, and I'll let you down. And Mike will come into your room and drop a cinder block on your head. So, with that said, I know they're getting weaker.
I'm not gonna lie, that wasn't as creative as I wanted it to be. Oh, next week we'll have something called. Next week we'll have a segment with Jeremy. It'll be called Jeremy's Take. I like it. I want to do it, so we're doing that. Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard of this, but okay. And tell your mom to stop keeping me up so I can have enough.
Okay, Jeremy.
Jeremy, that's funny, but that's hilarious. Bring up my mom in a way that's not flattering again, and you won't be walking for 6 months. And that's a promise. That's not.
What's a knee reap again? Oh my goodness.
1,000 subscribers in these two fight. Remember. Okay.
Later.